If you're a marketer or business owner, you already know TV advertising is a powerful channel for business growth. It's also a solution for businesses frustrated by digital marketing's rising cost. But the traditional process for launching TV campaigns is expensive, time-consuming, and complex. Marketing Architects believes brands deserve access to quality TV campaigns. That's why they flipped the traditional TV agency model on its head to create all-inclusive TV. With all-inclusive TV advertising, Marketing Architects invest their own money to produce, analyze, and optimize your TV campaign. All you pay for is media. This means you get top-tier solutions for every piece of your campaign, but without the dramatic price tag, setting you up for rapid growth at an extreme cost advantage. In fact, all-inclusive TV is so revolutionary, they wrote a book about it. If you're a marketer, business leader, or interested in the TV advertising industry, you'll want to grab a copy of All-Inclusive TV, How Booming Brands Are Reimagining TV Advertising. Read how other brands use TV to transform their businesses and how you can do the same. Go to marketingarchitects.com/book to get your free copy today. Again, that's marketingarchitects.com/book. You know, I've been talking about earned media value for quite some time on this podcast. My friends at Eisenberg have just raised the bar on earned media benchmarks with their Social Index. Social Index now gives you globally earned media values across a growing list of 6 geographies for all your KPIs across the top 7 social platforms: Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Snapchat, TikTok, Twitter, and YouTube. You can now visualize these values for deeper analysis, and they have a look-back window over 2 years of historical comparisons. Social Index is updated daily. Don't get stuck with old data. Over 1,000 companies have used the Social Index to understand the ROI of their social campaigns. And if you work with a social agency, you should demand they incorporate earned media values into your reports. Get your earned media value for social content. Visit earnedmediavalues.com/Alan. Again, that's earnedmediavalues.com/ALAN.
For all of us, it's about predicting where the consumer is going and getting half of it right.
One of the things we want to do is create ads that don't suck.
Embracing change creates great possibility.
I'm Alan Hart, and this is Marketing Today. This week on the show, I've got Jill Thomas. She's the CMO of the PGA Tour Superstore. And this is a big, big week and month coming up for the golf and the PGA. We're right now in the midst of the PGA Championship in Tulsa, Oklahoma. We've got the U.S. Open coming up in June. And then in July, the Open Championship. And so many other golf tournaments throughout the country and the world are going on as well. So it's going to be a fun conversation talking about golf, what's changing with golf, how the PGA Tour Superstore plays a role in addressing the needs of new golfers entering the sport, and much, much more. I hope you enjoy this conversation with Jill Thomas. Jill, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, this is going to be a fun conversation. One, we're going to be talking about golf, so that's kind of fun. But I was looking at your background, and you've been in snacking, it seems like, your entire career. How did you end up in golf?
I know, right? It's kind of an incredible leap, but it has to be clean living. I did something right along the way, but seriously, it was really my greatest fortune. I sort of pinch myself every day because I get to mix 2 of my greatest passions, the art and science of marketing and golf. And, to be able to do that is really incredible.
No, that's awesome. That's awesome. Well, let's talk about your path. Like, where did you start your career and how did you end up as the chief marketing officer for the PGA Tour Superstore?
Yeah, I started out very early, knowing kind of exactly what I wanted to be when I grew up through a great, when you're in high school and a lot of your friends might work at the mall or or in fast food. I actually worked in marketing for public supermarkets. It's kind of a long story. I won't get into it, how I did that. But by the time I went to college, I knew this is my passion and this is what I was going to be doing. And in fact, after my first year of college, I dropped out and went straight to work. I started in an advertising agency. And then I ultimately, and it was, it's always funny to me because I remember very much, being very naive and probably not as experienced as I tried to pretend that I was. And I would say things like, wait, why is that person telling me what to do? And I'm like, they're like the marketing person. So I'm like, wait a minute, how do I get to the other side of this table? And I really made the leap to marketing, which I believe was the seminal moment of my career where I recognized that I wanted to sort of be about driving that story and driving the customer. And so ultimately I moved myself to the other side of the table and I went back to business school eventually. Of course, I finished my undergraduate degree at night, but I was working the whole time. And I worked in field marketing and QSRs, which, quick service restaurants are some of the most sophisticated marketers and biggest advertisers. And I was with PepsiCo, which is the predecessor to Yum Brands. A lot of people probably don't know that. And eventually made my way to the Walt Disney Company. And that was sort of the second pivotal moment of my career. And from that point on, that really set me up for acceleration. And I sort of made a name for myself, even at Disney, as a transformational and growth-oriented marketer, someone who could kind of work in the gray space. And that's kind of how I've spent the last 10 years. And PGA Tour Superstore was that opportunity of a lifetime to bring all those things together and an opportunity to transform a small traditional marketing organization into a modern marketing organization, which is the journey that we're on right now.
That's an amazing story. I've had all types of folks on the show. Like some people, started out as an engineer. Some people started out in finance and found their way to marketing. You're probably like in a rare group that knew at that early of an age that you wanted to be a marketer. Like, how did you, you got to tell me one more nugget of like, how did you even know marketing exists at that point?
You're so right. And it's always interesting to me. I love to hear how people came to, this journey that we're all on. And I just had an incredible mentor, a guy by the name of Mark Irby, who up until very recently was the head of marketing at Publix supermarkets. And when I was in high school, he wasn't much older than I was. And he just sort of took me under his wing. And he said, you can approach this job as a typical summer job. You can file things and answer my phone and manage my calendar, or you can come to every single meeting that we have and read every file in my office and learn everything that you want to know. And at the time, Publix was transforming itself from generic private label. I know this is really dating myself, by the way, but it was going, to like what is truly store brands and building out the Publix premium brand, which was about consumer insights and research and product management and packaging. And it was all these really cool projects that sort of balanced this need in me that was the creative side meeting the analytical side. And I do think that is the thing that makes me a little bit different. I have a need to sort of function in both of those spaces. And I think that really has attributed to my ability to get into this role over the last decade or so.
That's amazing. I mean, it's always important to have mentors around, but somebody that just opens everything up to let you experience. Well, let's talk about the PGA Tour Superstore. Like, describe that for listeners, because we've got listeners in many different countries, all across the US as well. So give me a little more.
I know it's a brand that it's like, if you know, and you're like super excited. It's the Walt Disney World of golf. The PGA Tour Superstore is the largest specialty golf retailer in the country, and maybe even safe to say the world. We have 53 stores as of this week, and we have even more planned for 2022. We have a lot of growth planned. We're entering new markets, Charlotte, Philadelphia. It's super exciting right now to see the customers' faces when they find out we're showing up in town. It's pretty cool. Our stores are about 40,000 square feet, so they're big. They're very large, hence the term superstore. And they are literally filled with the best, the newest, the coolest brands in golf and tennis. We have equipment, we have gear, we have apparel, footwear, really a ton of cool services to help our customers play their best. Like we fit people. I know if you're not a golfer, you might not know what that means. It just means we really try to help you get into the right equipment. We have teaching professionals and a whole bunch of amazing associates who sort of serve as our customers' personal club pro if they're not a member at a private club. It's just a place where you can go where you know that people are really there to try to help you inspire you to play your best and help you get there, which if you're a golfer, you understand is the never ending journey to game improvement. I think the other thing that's super interesting about the PGA Tour Superstore is obviously we are partially owned by the PGA Tour, but we are primarily owned by A&B Sports and Entertainment, which is, said differently, Arthur Blank, who is the founder of Home Depot. And as you can imagine, it's an incredible opportunity and experience to work with Arthur and our senior leadership team. Arthur is a legend in many ways, not only in retailing, but just as a person who is dedicated to making the world a better place. So it's very much a purpose-driven brand, and it's really fun. And it just, like, when you see a customer walk in the door, you can see their eyes light up, and they're, I don't think there's any place in the world as cool as our stores for golf and tennis enthusiasts.
It does sound appropriately phrased as the Walt Disney World for golf, and tennis. So let's talk about golf a little bit more, because the game is golf, right? Like it's always been golf, but like it seems to be people are changing. The people that are coming to golf are changing a little bit. Tell me more about the trends that you're seeing in the sport.
Well, you couldn't be more right. There could not be a more exciting time. I know a lot of people talk about when Tiger Woods first sort of changed the sport of golf, increased its popularity, and that was sort of the big moment for golf, expanding the audience a little wider. And this has to be the second big moment for golf, because it is so exciting right now to see the broadening of the audience. It is not that stereotypical golfer that I think many people sort of picture in their head. It is more inclusive. It's about women, people of color, a younger audience, and even fans of golf that are sort of into the lifestyle, but might not actually be playing. It's just a really cool time to see how many people are embracing the sport and really starting to understand, what's the secret about it? Why is it so addictive? And so, so many people are so into it. And I think the answer is, I don't think it's a surprise to anyone that, COVID sort of helped some people rediscover or discover for the first time that golf is this amazing sport. It's one where you can play with your friends, you can safely distance but socially connect. And so it's really been having its moment over the last 2 years. I think one thing that's really important to share with the audience is that 75% of all the golf courses in the US are open to the public. So it's not, I think there's this mindset that it's for the, a very small group of people. It's actually an incredible way to kind of get outside, get connected to nature, challenge yourself in a new way. And, venues like Topgolf are helping too. So access has really broadened the appeal of the sport, being able to do it, and opened it up to this whole new, younger, more diverse audience. And it could not be a more exciting time in the sport.
Yeah, I mean, I did not know that stat that you just used. The 75% of golf courses are open to the public. I had no idea, frankly, that was the case. That's amazing. Yeah.
And every community has, that one place that you can go. And it's really changing it's really changing the face of the game.
Well, how are you thinking about growth as the demographics are changing? More women, more bringing just generally more diverse people into golf. How are you thinking about that?
Yeah, it's the catalyst for transformation, quite frankly, because when, if you go back 10 years and you think that golf was a very narrow audience and maybe more easily defined, I don't like the term, demographic profiling. I think that's the downfall of any marketer, is to think about, instead of audiences and individuals, these sort of benign groups of people. And for I always think about the fact that our senior leadership team at the PGA Tour Superstore is pretty small. We're 6 people, including our CEO, and 2 of us are women, and we're both very avid golfers. So our commitment to women's golf in particular is deeply rooted. And we absolutely have the most product, gear, apparel. Style is important to women. Our fitter of the year was a female, and I think this is really interesting because I don't think there's any other brand that could say this. But last year, for International Women's Golf Day, we ran an entire store completely with women. And I don't think anybody in the world could do that. So when I think about growth and, sort of empathetically, like what is important to these new audiences, I just think we go deep. We are very committed, whether it's from a product standpoint, different kinds of products. There's jokes about hoodies on the golf course. Yeah, you can absolutely find a hoodie in our store. You can absolutely find an incredible print polo. It's not just monochrome, colors. It's just you can express your personality now more than ever before, and that's really what's helping us grow is reaching out to these new audiences.
Love that. Well, and how, as the organization changes, as you get more assortment, unique products, how has this pushed you or the organization kind of to think differently about marketing and how you're marketing?
Yeah, it's interesting because when I joined the team, it was pre-COVID, and still growth was happening pre-COVID, especially for the PGA Tour Superstore, because we were opening up new stores. And what we find is when we go into a new market, people get really excited. The market actually grows. It's really cool. So the growth was happening, but this explosive growth with these new audiences, that really has been this catalyst for change. And like I said, no longer is that avid golfer easily described as by some demographic. So what that means is we have to know and engage the customer in a more personalized and targeted way. And as a marketer, what that means, which, that starts going down this path, that of course is what I always describe. And anybody who's ever worked with me knows nirvana is right person, right message, right moment. So once you start down that personalization journey with data and the supporting technology, loyalty becomes increasingly more critical. This really sets you down that path for transformation where we become a much more modern marketing organization, putting customer data at the center of everything that we are doing. And it is really where we are right now. We've grown the team significantly. We were a rather small team when I started, about 11 people, half of whom were dedicated to e-commerce. Now we're about 30 people. And, I think it's the right size for a business our size. But we elevated our talent, our technology. We're really aligning our team around business priorities and campaigns like never before. All of our audiences are being managed sort of uniquely, which is totally different. We're getting more agile, and we're really focused on accountability on our team across channels and on big campaigns that matter. So it truly, for me, it has been a really exciting 2.5 years. Because not only do I get to work in the sport that I love and talk about the products that I think are cool, but I get to really shape the sort of our path forward in terms of marketing. It's no longer we buy media at mass. We spend a lot of money with the Golf Channel. It's so interesting to me because TV has never been a targeted medium, and broadcast TV, and the Golf Channel is, so you can be there and know who you're going to reach. But in our new world, that's not the only place we can be. And that has changed sort of everything that we've been doing. I could talk about that for hours. I know that it would be half therapy and also very fascinating.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's you're driving a lot of change, a lot of transformation, and really trying to understand the customer and engage them where they are at the moment that they're there. I mean, that's a lot, and a big growth. 11 people up to 30 on the team now. I'm curious, what you said about half of the original crew were more focused on the e-com side. What were the things that you've had to add to make this transformation come to life?
Yeah, I kind of had to add performance marketing. We needed a stronger understanding of performance. Social, we did not have a dedicated social media manager. That's obviously critical right now. We have an incredible social media manager who's making a difference in our business and with our brand. We added, we kind of separated the idea of email marketing as a channel and loyalty, CRM and loyalty. So we've added resources there, some really strong digital talent from some of the greatest digital brands out there. We've been able to attract consumer insights. We didn't have a dedicated insights person. So community relations, we've really grown that area. We've added several people there. So if you kind of look at the disciplines of marketing, I don't think there's an area where we didn't beef up or add more resources or really bring new resources in for the first time. It's interesting because, and it's a study in cultural change, because we have a lot of very experienced marketers today where we had a much younger earlier in their career group, maybe 2.5 years ago. And that means that we have a point of view and we want a seat at the table for our representation of the customer and the customer data and the passion that we have around change. And it's just it's exciting. And we've been totally embraced by the organization. And we spend a lot of time talking about change management right now. And what does explosive growth do to a company? And how do we, I'm sure you've heard the build the plane and fly the plane at the same time. And that is 100% the way that we're working. And we get it right a lot of the time, and we get it wrong sometimes too. But we're making dramatic improvement every day. We went through the whole storming, forming, and norming, and it's really exciting as a marketing leader to have the opportunity to shape how we approach and think about marketing as an organization, but also to take these individuals who are so talented and try to put them together like a beautiful orchestra working towards a common goal it's really gratifying to me personally. And I hope that I can look back at this as sort of the greatest performance of my professional career, because it's really tapping sort of every part of my brain as a leader, the technical side, the leadership side, all of those it's coming together at once.
No, it sounds like a phenomenal opportunity to build and shape an organization and really make an impact for that matter. Well, tell me a little bit about marketing, like some examples of things that you guys have brought to life over the last year or so.
Yeah, I'm, you look back, sometimes you get caught up in the moment and you don't really think about, well, what did we do last week, last year? We're so focused on the future. But there are some things if I take a step back and I look at and I go, wow, that's pretty cool that we did that. This campaign that we started last year called Girls Got Drive, it's really not about golf. It is about women and empowering women. And, golf is a sport, it's not for the faint of heart. It's a challenging sport in a lot of different ways. And it's a character builder, so I think there's a natural connection between strong-willed women with drive and golf. And so we created this campaign called Girls Got Drive to really focus on stories about women that have drive. They could be golfers, they might not be golfers, but it's a passion for me personally and for a lot of those on my team. And it's manifested itself in a lot of different ways. And this year it's getting even bigger. So that's really exciting. We have this incredible partnership with International Women's Golf Day, which is the first Tuesday of June. Like I mentioned, last year, we ran the entire store with women on International Women's Golf Day, which, like I said, I don't think anybody could ever do that. I'm talking about a 40,000 square foot store. So, we had with instructors and fitters and all the associates across the store running every job, GM, associate GM, every role. So I thought that was really cool. So that's sort of the one example of how we're trying to bring the women's story to life. Beyond just the golf, but really the supporting women is a part of that. And then, the funner things I think that we've done from a storytelling standpoint, obviously, I think I shared with you, we did a spoof video during COVID about the quiet sign guy. And this is a little bit like inside baseball. You need to understand that when, fans were not allowed out at PGA Tour events, we were asking ourselves, like, well, where's the quiet sign guy? The guy who holds up the sign, like he's a really important, character in the excitement of watching golf. And we wanted to tell his story. And so we created this long format video that is still one of it makes me laugh really hard whenever I watch it, because there's so many little nuggets in there. At one point we like zone in on a trophy on his counter, and he's the quiet sign guy of the year. And he has a pillow on his couch that says, shh. It's just super funny. And we invested a lot in it. And our purpose was, hey, you can't get out into these events right now, but how can we bring some joy and happiness into your life? And so we really started to not just talk about product and price, but really talk about brand storytelling and how do we connect emotionally with the customers that care so deeply about this sport. And I think that's best translated into our Father's Day spot last year, a campaign we called Scorecards, which is a beautiful story about a father-son relationship over the course of their lives and how golf has sort of been that memory creator, and the scorecard is the device that that allows them to look back at their life together. And it's very poignant. Definitely a tearjerker, and we will absolutely be running it again. And we're so proud of it because it really gets into the insight of that emotional connection that golf can allow in terms of creating memories. So those are some of the bigger things. Obviously, our investment in social media is bigger than it's ever been. We're working with influencers and a lot of different partnerships. And we're really expanding beyond the PGA Tour, closer with the LPGA in particular, really just to expand this audience of golfers. It's so much bigger than it once was. So we're just trying to find them wherever they are and be relevant as best that we can.
I mean, it's amazing work. And we'll try to link to as many of those things as we can so people can check them out for themselves. But yeah, kudos. I mean, that's a long list of great work. Well, one thing we like to do on the show is to switch gears, and maybe we'll still talk about business, but more talk about you a little bit more. And I love asking everybody that comes on the show this, my favorite question, which is, has there been an experience of your past that defines and makes up who you are today?
This is got to be the hardest question that anyone could ever ask another person. I think the truthful answer is it's not particularly one moment in time. It's sort of a series of events, and wouldn't be right not to mention I happen to have this incredible system of support from my parents, my husband, my children, and an incredible circle of supportive women who are all focused on that thing we work so hard to do, which is be amazing in our jobs while balancing our families. And I would say motherhood is that moment that defines like who you're going to be. I'm fortunately blessed that also my family is composed of completely avid, rabid, passionate golfers. So they are they get so excited about what I'm doing and hearing all the things. So I think motherhood has to be that moment, because motherhood helps you, first of all, learn to not, it's not about you. And I always say the best skill of a marketer is empathy, right? It's walk a mile in somebody else's shoes. And I think that's one of my superpowers. I think I'm extremely empathetic, and that allows me to be a passionate advocate for our customers and different audiences, and really our mission as marketers, which is to put the customer first and at the center of things. So I think if I don't want to be corny, but I do think that motherhood is probably the experience that best set me up for the success that I'm having in my career right now.
No, it makes perfect sense. As a father, not on the mother side, but on the father side, it is amazing how much, that little being that comes into life can test your patience, test your
absolutely
your values from day to day, and then be the sweetest, individual you've ever met in your life on other days.
Absolutely.
Fun experience. What advice would you give your younger self if you're starting this journey all over again?
Well, I think that's a perfect seamless transition, because, I like to say I'm type A masquerading as smooth jazz. And what I mean by that is I try to, on the outside, be as calm and cool and collected as I can. And that probably comes from motherhood or learning over time. But underneath the surface, I'm a fairly intense person. And so I guess if I were to give myself advice, I would say, patience pays off, respond, don't react, and, try to keep your emotions in control. And sometimes I've said, oh, it's passion. It's intensity is what it is, and a serious desire to achieve and to do good. And so I think patience would be the one word I would like to whisper in the ear of my younger self.
I love that. I love that. And you have to have a t-shirt or a coffee mug made with that type A masquerading as smooth jazz. That's like the best description I've ever heard.
Okay, good. I might do that.
Yeah.
Okay, there you go.
I would
needed
buy
a
one.
side hustle. I needed a side hustle.
I would definitely buy one personally. I love that. Is there a topic you think marketers need to be learning more about now, or maybe something that you're trying to learn more about yourself?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if this is a new idea. I find that kind of interesting that, I was pretty spoiled in the early part of my career when you work at the Walt Disney Company or Yum Brands or PepsiCo, these giant companies that are so marketing forward and customer driven. And then you, as you sort of navigate away and you find yourself in companies that maybe haven't sort of gotten there, or they don't have the resources to kind of move as quickly as some of these bigger brands, you take some things for granted. So you find yourself in these moments where you're like, well, doesn't everybody know and understand that? And then you realize, no, that's why you're here. You're here to teach and to help and to lead and to transform. So customer data management and personalization at scale through automation is the technical response to right person, right message, right moment. And I always say there's only two things any marketer ever needs to know. One is right person, right message, right moment. And that's, how you deliver that is very complicated, but that's the nirvana state for us, I think all. And then the second one is it's not about you. And that goes back to my empathy thing, which is, really try to put yourself in the shoes of the other person. And you can do that technically through a discipline of consumer insights and data and really leveraging it to drive your decision making. So customer data management and personalization should be on everybody. If you're not an expert at it, you should be trying to be an expert. And if you truly want to put the customer first, then you know that you want to deliver messages that resonate, that are relevant. And that is a customer first mindset. Like, I don't want to send you messages or try to reach you, or, that old way that we used to do marketing, which was we tried to interrupt you while you were doing something you wanted to do. If you're watching the Super Bowl and we're going to try to wave our arms and get you to look over here because we need your attention. And now it's not about that. It's about being relevant and working within the life of a person in a relevant way. And so to me, the technical way you do that is through customer data management and personalization. And it's complicated when you start talking about machine learning and real-time decisioning and the ability to deliver messages and offers and loyalty across many channels. That is not a small task. And if you don't have the giant resources of very big companies and the internal organization and mindset around what that looks like, it can be a challenge. But I think once you connect the dots for your organization and the light bulbs go off, then they join you in the mission because they totally get it. So that, for me, that would be by far number one.
It's awesome. Well, on the personal front, are there brands or companies or causes that you follow or you think other people should be taking notice of?
I'm such a lover of marketing and an appreciator of brands. And so I follow and I admire and I try to glean learning from so many great brands. And I kind of think of it in maybe a couple of different categories. Like, one, I love brands that are just fun and bring joy to the world. So, a brand like Oreo, which is just they totally get what they are. They're a cookie, right? Don't overthink it, right? And then, of course, in that same category would be the love of my life, which is Cinnabon. And, Cinnabon really understands who it is as a brand. It's meant to bring a moment of respite into the crazy world. And it's just, the brand just looks for fun ways to make you happy. So I love brands like that. But then as a marketer, I really appreciate brands that are sophisticated marketers, but they're purpose driven. And so some great examples in my mind are brands like Chipotle or Starbucks. Again, these are brands that totally know themselves. They are totally comfortable being exactly who they are. They know their role in the world, and they're trying to do cool things and deliver great products, of course, but they're really trying to make a difference. And then of course, there's brands that know and love their customer and deliver those personalized experiences. I think one of the funnest things that's happening in marketing, if you're, again, a nerd of marketing like I am, I love the Sephora Ulta battle that happens every day. I mean, this is like a great example of how competition can drive innovation, right? These are two brands that on the surface, you would think are totally overlapping brands, and they are both pushing each other to do really cool things. And they figured out how to define a space for each of them. I'm sure they're always trying to get share from one another. And I can only imagine what those meetings are like, but I think they're doing incredible things. And I love those brands. So I could go on for hours and talk about brand. I know that's not the purpose of the question, but there's so many, and really any brand that understands product and price is the second message, not the first, and really wants the customer and how the brand makes their life better, puts that forward. Those are the brands I most admire.
Yeah, no, that's a great list of brands in particular. And I need to pay more attention to the Sephora Ulta battle because that sounds really cool. I need to be paying more attention to that. Thanks for putting that on my radar.
You're going to have to get into beauty products, but
well, I have a 14-year-old daughter, so maybe well, she hasn't really done that, gotten too into that stuff yet, but it's coming. We're about to go into high school, so I'm expecting an explosion of going to those stores.
You better just sign up for those loyalty programs right now.
I love it. Well, last question for you. What do you think is the largest opportunity or threat facing marketers today?
When I think about this question, of course, there's probably like some very wise macroeconomic influence out there that I should be responding to. And I'm sure that would be a wise decision, but I'm going to go down a little bit of a different path, which is I think the greatest threat to marketers is really not leaning into technology and innovation change and those things that are driving how we know and engage our customers at scale. And what I mean by that very specifically is marketers must drive the digital agenda. And I know that it gets confusing because technology is the enabler, but it's not the thing. It's just the enabler. I think I call it like systems of engagement versus systems of record, right? So knowing and engaging the customer with empathy is that unique talent and skill that marketers bring to the table. And we have to harness everything that we know and deliver this personalized experience. That's our greatest opportunity. It's that holy grail, if you will, right person, right message, right moment. And that's why I really so strongly believe that we need to drive the digital agenda. And I don't think it's the case in many organizations. And I think that should be a concern. And I'm not sure that was what you were expecting as an answer, but threat to marketers is losing control of the digital roadmap.
Well, and I mean, to your earlier point about the nirvana of right people, right message, right time, right moment, without driving that digital agenda, you're giving up the keys to the castle to achieve that. and it needs to do it in a very empathetic way versus a very tech building block way, Lego block way, I guess. So yeah, no, it makes perfect sense. Well, Jill, thank you so much for coming on the show. This has been fun.
Thank you so much for having me. It has been fun. Let's do this again tomorrow.
I love it. Same time, same place.
Same time, same place. Thank you so much. I really do appreciate it.
Awesome. Hi, it's Alan again. Marketing Today was created and produced by me with support from my team and podcast editors, sound engineers, and writers at Share Your Genius. Find them at shareyourgenius.com. If you're new to Marketing Today, please feel free to write us a review on iTunes or your favorite listening platform. Don't forget to subscribe on marketingtodaypodcast.com and tell your friends and colleagues about the show. I love to hear from listeners. You can contact me on marketingtodaypodcast.com. There, you will also find complete show notes, links to what was discussed in the episode today, and you can search our archives. I'm Alan Hart, and this is Marketing Today.